All right, well, welcome all, guys. This is really exciting to see that we are putting off that Fall into AI seminar series slash workshop slash panel discussion. So based on the success story that we had from the Summer of AI, which, collectively over, what, 2.5 months, 3 months?
2 months.
2 months, we had more than 1,100 participants. We did 38, no, how many? Eight workshops,
Yes.
11 presentations, discussion panels. It was really fantastic to see the community coming together to discuss AI, whether you like it or not, whether you're planning to use it or already are doing a lot of things with it. We want to hear from you. This is really in a spirit of offering a safe place for folks to talk about Gen AI and how it would impact the way we do our job here on campus, but particularly in that learning and teaching space that CITL is known for on campus. And so today, it's my great pleasure to introduce Przemek Bosak. He very, very kindly accepted to give us the first, should I call that a workshop or a
just a lecture discussion.
Just a chat, lecture. He's going to share with you guys what he knows about, or what you should know about AI, right? He's going to give you his 2 cents on AI and what we should be paying attention to, things like that. So welcome. This is very, very exciting. Thank you so much, Przemek, for doing that. I really appreciate. And then stay tuned because I'm assuming we're going to have regular newsletter, just like during the summer. And we're going to have recap and report and things like that for you guys to be keeping on track with all what's happening here on campus. So thank you all for being here and enjoy today's session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
All the applause until the end. I haven't done anything yet, anything meaningful. Anyway, welcome everyone.
This is when I decide whether we keep him or we fire him, so no pressure.
I hope all of you can see my screen. Welcome to the first of however many. We haven't finalized the schedule yet, but welcome to the Fall into AI series. My name is Przemek Bosak. I'm the Assistant Director for Instructional Innovation. It's so nice to see you come out for this opening event, both in person and online. I'm super pleased to see how many of you decided to take this lunch hour to hear me babble about generative AI. So during the next 50 minutes or so, I am hoping to answer some address some fundamental questions about generative AI, its genesis, history, what we're facing at the moment, what we are potentially going to be facing in the near future, according to experts in the field and laymen alike. I am very hopeful that there's time left at the end of this presentation for us to have a discussion. It might be difficult to do that since this is a hybrid meeting, but we'll do our best. Please excuse any, we're not anticipating on having any technical difficulties, but if they arise, please bear with us and excuse our mess. Our video wall in the room and the sound system got recently upgraded, and we haven't worked out all of the kinks of how it works. And we've been having some difficulties with that new equipment. Having said all that, let's go ahead and get started. The agenda for tonight's lecture discussion is as follows. I'd like to go over the brief history of artificial intelligence, how our university has contributed to that history, and to where we are at the present moment. I'll briefly speak about composition, a musical composition called the Iliac Suite, which originated at our university and was the first of its kind in the world. We'll talk about the AI, generative AI, artificial intelligence, not just generative AI, but all artificial intelligence at the present moment. And I'll answer some questions about what it is and how it works. We'll go over some popular applications. We'll go over the hopes and desires and aspirations for generative AI in the future, near and far. And as I said, but hopefully this lecture will be interspersed with your all's participation. In this photo, you see the person in the photo is Lejarin Hiller. He was a chemistry and then a music composition professor at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I'll speak about him in just a little bit. So here's the AI's timeline, rough timeline. Thinking machines. The idea of thinking machines goes back to ancient Greece, but roughly, the practical applications and the possibilities for thinking machines date back to about the year 1950, when Alan Turing published a now famous paper called Computing Machinery and Intelligence, in which he posed the following questions. Do androids dream of electric sheep? I'm hearing no. Okay. I am famous for lame jokes, folks, so I'm glad no one laughed at that. No, of course not. That was Philip K. Dick who posed that question. Alan Turing's question was, can machines think? And with that, and along with that, he devised a now famous Turing test, by which it tests a person's ability to distinguish between a human-made artifact and a computer-made artifact. And it's getting increasingly, this test is becoming increasingly obsolete as it's becoming more and more and more difficult to distinguish what was made by a human being and what is made by a machine. The term machine learning, and I'll go into that in just a moment, AI systems that learn from historical data, and that is at the present moment the state of artificial intelligence. That dates back to the 1980s. But before I talk about that, I want to mention the year 1956 when one John McCarthy coined the term artificial intelligence for the very first time in a conference at Dartmouth College. In the 1980s, the neural networks were being developed, thought of, dreamed of, and developed. Neural networks is another one of these features of modern day generative AI. I'll go into that in just a moment. Deep learning, that is a fairly recent phenomenon, about 15 years old now, which allows machines to mimic human brain function and activity. And we're into the generative AI phase now, which is about 3 years old, with the release of ChatGPT in November of 2022. Models that create original content. Okay, let me show you a little bit of this.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I am a HAL 9000 computer. I became operational at the HAL plant in Urbana, Illinois on the 12th of January, 1992.
This is a scene from anyone? What movie? 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yes, thank you very much. Stanley Kubrick's movie based on an Arthur C. Clarke novel by that title. And at that time, Arthur C. Clarke was aware of how big the University of Illinois was when it came to computing, supercomputing, artificial intelligence, all of the research and all the interesting things that were being researched and made and done at the University of Illinois that he decided to designate Urbana, Illinois as the birthplace of the supercomputer in the film. Right, so University of Illinois. The first pages. Please pardon me for a second, it seems to have missed. Yeah, so 1943, the phrase, the idea of neural network, and we'll go into that in just a moment, was originated at our university in 1943 between a neurophysicist and physiologist rather, and a logician. Then that went into a series of computing machines that were made here at the University of Illinois. The ELIAC computer series and the ELIAC suite that I referenced earlier was a musical composition composed by Leger and Hiller, which used the ELIAC computer to generate a series of notes based on a set of rules from the 16th century that he trained the computer to follow. And it came up with the exact sequence of notes and rhythms. And that was the very first computer-assisted, computer-generated musical composition. It was premiered here at the University of Illinois. In the 1960s and the 1970s, the Plato programmed logic for automatic teaching operation system which was a pioneering computer-assisted instruction program, was developed at the UIUC. The ELIAC 4 of 1965 was the fastest computer on the face of the earth, constructed, built at the University of Illinois. In the 1980s, the Center for Supercomputing Research and Development, CSRD, plus the still functioning NCSA, were established at the university. This campus was, at that time, the only campus in America with 2 supercomputing centers. So we have a long history. This campus has a very, very long history of research and development of supercomputing and artificial intelligence. So what is artificial intelligence? Broadly speaking, and I'll give you a moment to read this brief definition on the screen, but broadly speaking, it is a system that is designed to think and act and learn the very same way that a human being would. It requires, or it relies, as it says in machine learning and deep learning. We'll go over what that means in just a moment. But broadly speaking, artificial intelligence, once again, is an entity that is designed to act and to function and to think and to behave as a human being. So machine learning. Most of us, if not all of us, are familiar with this term, although perhaps it's a little bit vague, nebulous. It was for me for a very long time. It is basically a system that allows. It is a very, very big component of AI. There is no AI without machine learning. It is a technique which trains for training artificial intelligence, and it relies on instructing the algorithm to learn on a massive and massive and massive and massive amount of data. Data is key here. Without, or is it pronounced data? I always get that wrong. At any rate, machine learning. you introduce that data to these systems, and it learns from it in a couple of different ways. I'll show you what these ways are. But without it, artificial intelligence cannot make any predictions about how to behave, about how to respond. So data is, perhaps at the moment, the most precious commodity, okay? Just because artificial intelligence being, somewhat of a frontier at the moment. It relies on data and on good data at that. And so it is becoming more and more valuable with each passing day. At the moment, it is believed that everything that's on the internet has already been ingested into AI. So, but there are some repositories of data that haven't yet been tapped into, and that is now what we are faced with. Who owns it? Who is sharing it? And how is being utilized? But so machine learning. It's a subset of AI, as I said, that allows computers to learn from that data and make predictions or take actions based on what it learns from the data. And that can take on a couple of different forms. It is not required. It is not incumbent that the data be unstructured. The systems, the algorithms are so sophisticated now that they can take any set and make predictions based on the patterns that it sees within it. Some of these patterns are at the moment invisible to the human eye and the human mind. So, but ML, machine learning, but that's deep learning. Machine learning in general, it relies on instruction and data. So, for instance, like you see up on the screen, oh, actually, it's on the next slide. The three different types of learning are supervised learning, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. So this is where we get into how does AI know what it knows and how is it trained? It knows what it knows from the data that it's fed, okay? And so if you want the model to make a prediction about a specific picture, if I'm in the picture, it needs to have seen me in pictures before. Otherwise, it won't know that I am I, okay? If it wants to see, if we wanted to predict whether what it sees is a jaguar, it has to have seen jaguars and multiple photographs of jaguars. Then the algorithm analyzes what it sees, turns it into code, and then compares it with its knowledge base and makes predictions on that. Unsupervised learning is a really interesting topic and a really interesting idea, in that you don't need to prompt it, you don't need to tell the system what to look for. It just grabs that information and it makes its own inferences about it. But that is also quite useful to it, just because it's consciousness, and we're not there yet. There is no conscious, and there is no human-like generative AI quite yet. But as we'll see a little bit later on this presentation, that's one of the hopes for generative AI, especially from the makers and engineers and the CEOs of the companies that are responsible for, or that aim to create and to propel generative AI or AI, artificial intelligence, into the future. And then reinforcement learning, another interesting idea is that it learns by doing. It takes something, the system takes something, makes something, and then the user, the engineer, looks at it and tells it, no, this isn't what I wanted. Can you make something else? Can you improve upon it? And so it learns by doing. It learns by a reiterative process of making and then remaking, and so in summary, generative AI works in 3 phases. First is the training phase, by which you create a foundational model, you give it the data, it learns from the data, and creates an output and multiple outputs. After that, you fine-tune the model. You make it adapt to a specific application. We'll go over these applications. I'll show you examples of applications in just a second. And then it all repeats. It generates more. That output is evaluated, fine-tuned to improve accuracy, and the process repeats. So the idea of neural networks that I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, and as I said, it originates in the 1980s. What it does is it's basically a recreation, not recreation. It's a recreation of how a human brain functions and what the neurons do in the brain and how they process information and how they make predictions and how they arrive at outcomes and how they process results and how they learn from one another. Again, a lot of data is required for that to happen. There is we'll leave that question for later, but I want you all to think about, for the time being, we can come back to this question a little bit later. Does anybody see a problem with this? Are there any potential issues or obstacles or any pitfalls or any, I don't know, does anyone see a problem with neural networks? And if so, what do you see? A powerful tool in the field of AI, particularly in the area of machine learning. Once again, and I cannot stress it enough, designed to function the same way a human brain works. And then the next subset of data that's required for AI and generative AI at that, which is we're at that stage at the moment that most of AI is generative AI. It needs to know human language, needs to understand human language, the syntax of it. It needs to know the grammar of it. So once again, that's the only, that's the only way. Well, maybe not the only way, but that's the way we communicate with machines. Okay, machines didn't start communicating with us in their language. We started communicating with machines in our language, the way we understand the world, the way we understand technology. And so we need to train these machines to be able to understand us as much as that's possible. And so some of the results of that are chatbots and translation models, translation tools, and they're getting increasingly more and more sophisticated and more accurate. I just late last week, I received an email message from one of my colleagues at CEITL who developed and he's really satisfied with it, a tool for a translating tool for movies watched in real time. And he is really, really incredibly impressed with what these tools are now capable of doing. So, but those are the three main components of artificial intelligence. Data, I'll go back to the previous slide, learning on the data, which can take up so many different forms, structured, unstructured. So the structured data would be spreadsheets, it would be graphs, things of that nature. Unstructured data would be notes, handwritten notes, or typed up notes, email correspondence, all of those things. And then we need to recreate a human brain and train the system to understand human language, right? So let's take a brief pause here. I know this is a lot of information, dense information, probably, potentially confusing. So was anybody paying attention to the clip that I played 15 minutes ago? And if so, If you're on Zoom, can you post your answer in the chat? If you're in the room with me, please hang on. I will wait for the answers to trickle in on Zoom, and we'll see. We'll let you speak up for those of you who are in the room. So, when did HAL 9000 become operational? Where is not the right question? You know, we know that HAL became operational in Urbana, Illinois. Do we have an answer?
We had a 94, a 99, and then we have several 92s.
Okay. All right. 92 is the right year. However, when it spoke about itself in the film, it gave us a specific date, month, and the day of the month. Okay, we're getting closer. Jim is on the right track. It is January of 92. And on which day in January did that take place? All right. We don't have an answer
We
on
have a
Zoom.
14th,
Oh,
a 12th, and a 20.
all right. The middle one is the right one.
12th?
Yes. 12th of January, 1992. Yes?
Przemek, that was the inspiration for campus to launch something called Cyberfest, where the film was shown and Roger Ebert came and we had a telelink, a satellite uplink with Arthur C. Clarke,
Oh,
I
wow.
believe when he was in Sri Lanka.
Huh.
And it was 2 or 3 days of festivities, and then that became something called Ebert Fest, which just ended. So all good things
Wow.
come to an end, even HAL.
Yeah. Although there, and this is just an interjection, I'll come back to my talk. Ebert Fest is over the way we knew it, but there are talks about, bringing it back in a different format. Somehow they want to preserve that legacy and they want to preserve that event, but it will not be the way it has been for the last 25 editions of it or so. So at any rate, yes, for those of you who want to go back and rewatch the film, it's only 3 hours and 15 minutes longer. So, and it is a rather slow-moving film, but perhaps in the age of generative AI, when everything moves at breakneck speed, maybe it would be a good idea for some of us. Maybe at some point we can even screen it on our brand new video wall in the Innovation Studio. All right, so let's go back to some of our questions at hand. We've got a couple of, literally 2 at the moment, types of artificial intelligence. Weak AI and strong AI, sometimes known as artificial AGI, artificial general intelligence. And now I'm hearing that there's still a new term for it, super intelligence. So all that is to say that strong AI or AGI or super intelligence, its name changes because it hasn't been solidified, because it's not here yet, okay? AGI is a dream of computer scientists and engineers. It's basically going to be, or they wanted to be, type of AI that is smarter, that is sentient, that thinks and behaves and feels like a human being. And to boot, it is more intelligent than anything, than all of us combined, human beings. It possesses a consciousness and general intelligence at a human-like level. No, from what I've been reading about and hearing, now the ambition, the goal is for it to surpass human-like level. So we're stuck with, at the moment, the weak AI, and AI that can perform specific tasks, such as helping a doctor diagnose a disease from or a disease from an MRI, such as I don't know, a chatbot making a reservation on your behalf at a restaurant, or I don't know. Not that any of you are doing it, but maybe an agent that allows you to grade your student papers at a faster pace. Not that. So these things are, are being made, they are possible, but we're still dealing with tools and agents that are incapable of thinking and behaving the same way a human being does. It's just not, we're not at that stage yet. Who knows if we are ever going to get there. We've been hearing about these promises for a very long time, and who knows where the future leads, and what the future has in store for us. As you see up on this slide, we have seen examples of AGI, artificial general intelligence, in popular culture. Okay, HAL 9000 being one of such entities in the movie that I just referenced. This example, or this slide rather, gives you a couple other examples from sci-fi movies. Ancient robots in the series Terminator, plus Android data, Star Trek, The Next Generation. I'm sure you can come up with. Oh, in the movie Her, the main character dates an artificial, a computer basically. So, what is AI good at this specific moment? I'll give you a couple of seconds to go over these examples. If you're online, I'd like you to look at this list, and I'd like you to share with us other use cases that you have either seen or that you utilize on a regular basis. How do you deploy generative AI, weak AI for your personal uses? This is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. So you have other examples of it, please post them in the chat. And for those of you who are in the room, hold on to your thoughts for a minute. We'll let the online audience answer this question first, and then we'll do a little bit of sharing. We're doing well on time, by the way. I aim to release you all around 1:50 p.m., just as it was advertised in eWeek and on other platforms. So what have we gotten from the chat?
So we have summarized emails and documents to produce a report, customer service messages, entertainment,
Yes.
finance,
Yes.
food diary for tracking calories and macros by uploading photos of the food labels.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, how can I say this in a nice way?
Oh. As a matter of fact, I have asked AI for help with that myself. For those of you who are in the room, do you have other examples? Top use cases? What's AI been good at in your specific situations?
Second pair of eyes, like a second opinion.
Second opinion on what issue or issues?
Mostly just in the work that I do is like coding. And so just I'm trying to solve a solution and I go, hey, is there a better way to do this? Or maybe I want to do this specific function. Is there a better way to go about this, or what do others recommend?
Oh, nice. Okay, thank you for sharing that. That's a good one.
Brainstorming, proposal.
Brainstorming.
generation,
Okay.
Rubric generation.
Rubric generation. That's a nice one.
Translate complex medical info into
Oh,
layman
yeah.
terms.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really important and really popular use case. Translation of documents, medical diagnoses, things, especially if the language is quite technical, as it can be in the field of medicine or in the field of legal documents, things of that sort. Yes?
A few others summarize, but then we also have some advice. As a therapist, please don't use it for mental health care.
Okay.
Great for resumes and cover letters.
Great for resumes and cover letters. Okay. Wow.
Up your skills.
I'm sorry?
Especially if you want to make up your skills.
which I suppose right now would be a good time to maybe talk about this. There are some pitfalls, and there are, AI isn't perfect. AI makes mistakes. AI hallucinates. AI makes up facts. AI is extremely, extremely power hungry. Okay, the power that's required to generate enough energy to support servers that support AI is astronomical. We've got copyrights issues and lawsuits being filed left and right, especially from creative artists who are suing these AI companies for copyright infringement. So there are numerous issues with it. But I suppose that's the case with any new technology. And this is still a very recent technology, and we're all adjusting to it, and we are all learning it on the fly. And we're I don't know. It's a fascinating time to be alive and to be in academia and to see how these systems affect us all as teachers and as learners, which is a good segue to the final question I've got for you. And again, I'd like to hear from you as much as that's possible. What does the future hold? Okay, so I've got 3 examples here up on this slide. The first one is from Eliezer Yudkowsky. This is his official title from his website, Foundational Thinker on the Long-Term Future of Artificial Intelligence. The question that was posed on him: will super intelligent AI end the world? And his answer was quite concrete, but the one aspect of generative AI he brought into the discussion that I hadn't previously considered, and it's something that I asked of you to think about, let's say 20 minutes ago, when I was speaking about neural networks, is that this thinker, he brings up a super interesting point by saying that we're constructing these neural networks, which are purportedly based on the way that the human brain works, when in essence, we know very little about how a human brain works. And so he considers it a little bit of a dead end and a little bit of a, I don't know, there is an inherent danger in that, in the sense that it's really an uncharted territory when it comes to how our brains work. And we are trying to, construct these systems that imitate something that we're very not sure about ourselves. So that's one take on artificial intelligence. So his outlook is not bleak, but but he's got some, he's flashing some warning signs about that. Then I watched a recent interview with Sam Altman. And the question that was asked of him was, what world will your children grow up in? And the world that he sees is when an AI can make us wiser, make better collective decisions, is an extension of the self. He sees AI as being on a curve of exponential growth and a constant growth. I don't know if that's sustainable, but that's the way he sees it. And he thinks, he said explicitly in that video that he believes that he wants his children to grow up in a world in which they are less smart than AI. So, that's his take on it, the CEO of OpenAI. And then we've got a quote from our very own Michel Bellini, the director of CATL. And the question for him was, what cannot AI do, or what cannot it replace? And it is such a nice and such a humanistic way of phrasing it. Michel's answer is, it can't replace creativity, empathy, collaboration, and the ability to ask the right questions. We'll see if we'll ever get there. The engineers and the scientists are aiming to construct an AI that will be capable of emulating human creativity, empathy, collaboration, the asking of the right questions. But we'll see if we get there. We have approximately 9 minutes left. I'd like to open the floor now, and I'd like to hear from you folks about what do you think? Where are we headed? What does the future hold for in your specific situations? Where do you see? How do you foresee the future of AI? Please either write your messages in the chat, or if you're in the room, if you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you about this.
There's been a little commentary in the chat, but I
Okay.
would invite, we can get sound here, right, Andrew?
Sorry?
We can get sound from the participants.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody wants to speak out, you can feel free to unmute. and
Oh, so
talk.
I was wrong. So thank you. Yes, you don't have to, please, by all means, if it's easier for you to speak out, if you're on Zoom, you don't have to type your message, just speak out.
But if nobody does, I will.
Okay,
maybe
thank
just
you.
read a couple of things, maybe to inspire people to speak. Kristen, go for it.
I'm the therapist that put in the chat, and my largest concerns are around privacy. And I mean, not only like the therapist bots that they're creating, which Illinois thankfully just banned. But you know, when somebody's in a desperate place or a compromised place or a hopeless place, yes, humans can make mistakes too, but as you said, the AI can make critical mistakes at critical times. And then also, where is all of this data going? And is it using intermittent reinforcement to get us hooked just like all the apps do and to become dependent and reliant on it? And then this is identifiable data that, HIPAA's already disappearing under our noses, whether people realize it or not, thanks to Google investing in a lot of mental health care companies. And so they're getting access to that data. So it just terrifies me when I hear people who are vulnerable relying on it for emotional support. And then also, a lot of my colleagues are using AI to write their notes and treatment plans, which I personally have a big problem with as far as privacy. So yeah, those are my biggest concerns about it as a healthcare provider.
Thank you very much. If we have any other brave souls who'd like to speak out, by all means, please.
Yep.
This is your time.
And no,
I
Yep.
So I'm the one who wrote I'm really concerned about the AI data centers and their energy consumption and their water consumption. I mean, we already have water shortages right now, and we already have issues with energy and climate change and environmental destruction. So, I mean, I would like to put it on the data center companies to provide their own sustainable energy and water supplies. But that's my big concern, is what is that going to do to our Earth that's already at the brink of irreversible climate change? So.
I've had talks with other people on the side about, I mean, we also need to know what's the real data. Like some of the things that I heard is, oh, when we're training the data, that's when it's using the most. Like if I just search for, I don't know what the reality is. So like, I want to see some transparency in the facts, because even in Clinton, they formed a deal with Meta to re-up the power plant there. And I'm guessing, Meta's using it for AI. But yeah, one has to be cognizant of what are the benefits versus the costs.
So I will counter that by saying if AGI, if it's ever developed, and if it it is what it's advertised to be, won't it be able to solve the climate crisis for us, in theory? I think so. I think that's the goal. I think that's the promise for the bright future with generative or with super intelligence.
Well, that doesn't mean that humans are going to go along with that, though.
That's an excellent point.
That Sam Altman's kids are going to be able to help solve that problem since they'll be not as smart as AI.
Speaking about that comment though, thinking about the first person that you had to quote from that was talking about like, will it end the world? Or like thinking about the brain and thinking about how an AI is built off of that brain. Let's say it gets to a point where an AI, like the super intelligent AI, gives us an answer for this is how your brain works. Would we believe it? Would we trust it? If we had created something that's so highly intelligent that it then tells us how our brains operate, would humans accept it?
Do children believe their parents?
It's true.
When their parents present them with compelling evidence and logic and reason. So yes, I learn from smarter people than me all the time. Some of them are sitting in this room. But it's because you have a foundation of reason and you discover something and someone uses evidence and it's like, okay, I think I'll go with that. But I think, the point is, yeah, the human brain we know so much about it, but it's like a drop in the bucket. There's so much we don't know. And yeah.
And then I would just counter that also kids are like, I don't believe you, Dad. I've been living for 50 some years and went through this before. I want to save you time. Nah,
Some
you don't
people still
know.
believe the Earth is flat.
Yes.
Or Santa Claus.
I also worry about like, where's the accountability in all of this? And, where's the accountability if you mentioned about copyright infringement? Or where's the accountability? I'm a former paralegal turned therapist. And so hearing about the court cases where lawyers got in big trouble because they used AI to draft motions, didn't double check them, and the AI hallucinated sources in court cases that didn't exist and put them in federal court motions that then got filed in federal court. So like, my sister's in cyber liability insurance. So it's like, where's the liability and accountability? If AI hallucinates and somebody gets hurt taking their advice, if it, tells somebody the wrong directions, as we've seen on Google Maps, like people have gotten car accidents because they follow Google Maps without analyzing it and they end up driving off a road or something. So I'm really concerned about, I don't want to stop progress, especially within the medical field, but also just overall, like, where are the guardrails? Where's the oversight? Where, I would guess in 2003, 2004, when Mark Zuckerberg was in his Harvard dorm room writing the code for Facebook, he just went to recreate literal book of faces. And now we've seen Facebook 20 years later do some really, really great things and some really, really terrible things. It's been used as a tool to unite people. It's been used as a tool to divide and unconsciously influence people and promote hate. And to somebody's point about who controls the AI controls possibly biased messages coming out of it at a time where we have less and less critical thinking and analysis of the information we're taking in. So that's what I worry about. It just seems to be like the Wild West. And like, we have an example of how one thing started and how it turned out and how it's continuing to evolve. And yet we're not using that as an example to like maybe slow down and take a breath before racing ahead with this.
I was just going to comment here. Anu says, I attended a talk on AI this morning where the speaker said AI use would likely depreciate considerably. Oh, somebody typed in my thing. Okay. Considering if the real costs are then forwarded to the user.
I think that's true.
I will, I know we're at time, but we don't have to discuss this, but if you'd like, I can stay on the call for another few minutes, but we've had quite a few cautious, opinions, things like that. Is there anyone who sees generative AI or super intelligence as the panacea to all of our societal and universal problems. Does anyone think that, when we do, in fact, and if and when we do develop super intelligence, that everyone will be healthy, live happily ever after? Will we have no strife, no conflict? What do we think? Is super intelligence the way to go? Is it going to solve any or some or all of our problems? What do you folks think?
Well, you started with science fiction, so you have to answer the question, why have we never seen a science fiction story ever that ends well with super intelligence?
Huh.
Right?
So but that doesn't necessarily tell us anything about super intelligence. That may be telling us more about who we are as a species, not about the super intelligence,
Projecting our own
fears, yeah.
fears and our own bad experience. Kristen, you had a great point. I did want to say your point about responsibility for AI. And remember, you said paralegal, Section 230, the 1996 in the US, when we said, hey, we really want the internet to work, so we can't sue every single person that has a web company. It's like the plumbing. You're not an editor, you're not responsible for there. So the world the law hasn't caught up, our thinking, our words hasn't caught up with AI. So a little bit of AI is falling under that. Well, yeah, I'm Meta and I'm Apple and we're doing all this stuff, but we're not responsible because in current law in the US is, if you're a big tech company, it's kind of a gray area now. How are you responsible for what happens once you let the technology free through a networked environment when the law says, no, you're just like, you're like the water company. Somebody else poisoned the water. You didn't do it. You're not responsible for it. So the law hasn't caught up, and that's why it's dangerous.
I want to thank you all for your attendance and for your participation. Please, if you haven't done so yet, and I'm sorry I don't have the link posted on the web, sign up for the Generative AI newsletter. Be on the lookout for more Fall into AI events. Those will be added as we solidify the speakers. This is just the first in a series of many events to be conducted this semester. We will continue with we don't have a name for it yet. We'll come up with something clever, or we'll ask generative AI to come up with something clever on our behalf for when we continue to offer these events in the spring semester as well. So with that, once again, thank you so very much. If you have any questions for me personally, please email me at the address that you see on the screen. For any other generative AI inquiries, please email us at citl-info@illinois.edu. And the CATL offers a number of resources around generative AI. If you have any questions about anything teaching and learning related, either centered around Gen AI or not, we have experts for pretty much anything you can think of related to the profession of teaching and learning. All right, with that, thank you. Have a nice day, everyone. And I hope to see you at future Fall into AI events.